1. At the age of 18, it was the last thing that I thought was going to happen.
Life had been so normal. You'd been leading a great life, and all of a sudden, there'd been a massive seizure and a completely different person emerged from it. I came in and asked you how you were, and you roared and said, "I'm a dinosaur." Smashing things, rages, screaming, running out of the house.
It's like I'm possessed, isn't it? It's just weird. Really weird. I had like different phases where I was manic, and this phase went on for months. I did it, but it wasn't me that actually did it, like in my head.
I dread to think what would have come of her. She would have ended up locked up, arrested. She'd have ended up in serious trouble, and I don't think anybody would have understood why.
So I don't really remember it, but I do vaguely remember bits of it from pictures.
Your long-term memory is completely intact.
Yeah.
Your short-term memory.
Everyday life just sort of, after about a week, just starts to disappear.
I hope that you remember me.
Dear future Lucy, I hope you're sitting comfortably. I need to tell you the craziest story about last summer. It's a story that no one else can forget, but I can't remember. I'm piecing the story back together to learn what happened that summer and to understand what's going on inside your brain. I can't sugarcoat it, this is a horrible disease.
The people who need to know is everybody. Antibodies and other immune cells can attack the brain.
Life now isn't easy, and there is a chance that you could relapse and have to go through it all again. But I don't want you to be scared. I made it back then, and if there is a relapse, you can make it back too. I struggle to remember things now, so I'm making this film for the future. Oh, sorry, bugger off. No, no, no. This is Mum Lisa and Tory Dog.
Life had been so normal. You'd been leading a great life, getting promotions at work, very enthusiastic, good at your job. Always bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
You were very concerned about what might be put on social media in case anyone saw you anything but professional Lucy that everybody knew.
A real go-getter, coming up for promotion, but unfortunately everything changed on the 1st of June last year. And that's when you then started having the most violent seizure, which went on for a very long time. Following the seizure, she slept for a couple of days on the sofa at home, which was understandable. And then, to our horror, when she started to come to a couple of days later, that's when we realised she was no longer the same girl. Her mannerisms, her facial expressions had changed.
And you just didn't stop. You were up until, 3 o'clock in the morning and just absolutely wired.
My sister Charlotte was scared of how things were unfolding.
You could be having a conversation with Lucy, and then the next thing, it's like different people would almost come in and take over her mind.
And that is my bed night song. And that is what I'm going to play when my dad's dead.
Oh, God. Lucy!
That's his, no, I told him, that's his funeral song.
We were worried, why is this behaviour continuing? Why isn't she settling down? Why is she getting worse rather than better?
I don't really remember the time, but it just doesn't really look like me.
It doesn't look like you, does it? You look in your eyes, huge eyes. and always got your tongue out rather than smiling.
Every day it would become a bit more full on, a bit worse.
I just want you to know I am.
You were twitching violently. You had tremors, your speech was slurred.
You felt like you've got a helmet on your head and things were busy and moving around inside your head.
It's literally like your brain's on fire.
Yeah, you were hysterical. You used to smash your head off of the wall.
You decided to plait your hair in a French plait, and you were looking at it in the mirror and it looked scaly like the tail of a reptile. I came in and asked you how you were, and you roared and said, "I'm a dinosaur."
And apparently when I'd be like walking up the street with my mum, I'd be like walking like a dinosaur.
Banging on neighbours' doors and insisted that you needed to come in to speak to them. A couple of the neighbours were understanding and a couple just weren't. They were quite disturbed, asking if you were dangerous and violent.
The doctors thought I had a psychiatric illness, like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. But they didn't know that my brain was swelling up inside my skull.
It was then that you went into your manic colouring phase.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was literally colouring from the minute that I got up in the morning until I went to bed. And I'd had all blisters on my fingers and they were bleeding. And there was like a sharpening mountain about this big, going through loads and loads of pencils. I had like different phases where I was manic, and this phase went on for months. We were put on a series of antipsychotic medications, but they weren't working. It was starting to look like I might not make it back.
Don't the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they understand.
But thankfully, a neurologist was listening closely to your story.
This happened so quickly.
The most violent seizure. You were twitching violently, you had tremors.
And Lucy was a different person.
You roared and said, "I'm a dinosaur."
It's literally like your brain's on fire. She was putting all the pieces together and was able to see the whole picture.
So fortunate for us, she would come across this condition once in her working history. She recognised the symptoms, requested an antibody NMDA blood test to be done.
This is the encephalitis researcher, Mike Zandy.
It's a difficult condition to diagnose, but if the condition is thought of and picked up, then with appropriate treatment, patients can make an excellent recovery. We do know that there is a link between inflammation and damage in the brain, though, and that's the reason why we want to pick up patients early.
The results came to her and we got this phone call to say
There is a diagnosis. It's a very, very rare brain disease. It's life-threatening, and Lucy needs to go straight in the next day.
Everything will be alright. I'm not in right.
you were never still, never quiet, and the only time you were calm would be when you were colouring. To take you and put you in an ambulance and strap you in for that distance, to be calm and still and quiet wasn't going to happen. So the next best thing to being able to amuse yourself was to sing all the way.
Hello,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, better than the last time we met.
Yeah, definitely, nice to
Good,
see
yeah,
you.
and you?
And this is PJ, the paramedic, who sat with us in the back of the ambulance all the way to the hospital.
Mum, when we first met you there, looked a bit anxious and fraught, which is understandable because we didn't know what was going on, but yeah. So what was the definitive diagnosis for you?
Encephalitis is like swelling of the brain, but the
Right.
particular one that I had was NMDA. It's when your immune system attacks your brain in error because it thinks like there's a disease there, but there's not.
Causing swelling, causing seizures,
Right.
causing all sorts of psychiatric symptoms, hypomania. All the behaviours are kind of amplified.
It was a really scary time for everyone, and I wasn't calming down in the hospital.
We went there thinking we were going to be there a couple of days.
Yeah.
I don't think at that point we realised the severity of it. I mean, it was a long time we were there. It was 7 weeks, and to you it didn't feel like 7 weeks because you had this 3 to 4 day memory.
Yeah. The staff were amazing, so supportive, but things in my head still weren't calm. In hospital, I was so confused. But now I understand what's happening in your brain. Encephalitis really means brain swelling. In 2017, I'd never heard of it, and 80% of the public still haven't today. But it's something that everyone should know about. What would you do if a friend changed personality overnight, and what could be causing it? Your brain controls your body by sending messages between nerve cells called neurons. These neurons control everything from our ability to breathe to our emotions and how we behave. In my brain, antibodies think that they are attacking a virus or a tumour, but instead, they are blocking and changing my neurons, remixing, confusing and warping the messages that make it through my brain. This is what caused the psychotic behaviour. Steroid treatment reduces the production of antibodies, and targeted treatments can calm my immune system. But they are all tough drugs with lots of side effects. From the steroids that I was on, I put on 5 stone in like the space of about 3 months. I went from about 9 stone to about 15. And they thin your skin as well, so I've been left with like a lot of scarring and stuff as well. Obviously it's not been very nice, but it's a small price to pay in reality. When I was in hospital, I said, I'm going to come out, I'll have a couple of months off and I'll go back to work. And everybody said to me, when you get home and you start to recover, you'll realise why you can't go back to work. There was a time where I couldn't even cross the road on my own because I would just step out in front of cars and my mum had to like hold my hand like you would with a little toddler because I'd just step out. And there was a time when I thought like I'd reached the end of my recovery and that's as far as I was going to get.
You were having lots of memory problems and things.
Yeah. Everyday life just sort of, after about a week, just starts to disappear.
Your long-term memory is completely intact.
Yeah.
Something that happened on Monday, you'd still remember it on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, but it would be fading. And by Thursday, Friday, it disappeared like it never happened.
Yeah.
You were getting quite distressed, saying things like, one day, I could go out and get married, but I won't actually even remember my own wedding.
I don't really remember Christmas or my birthday, so if I look at pictures, I can sort of think, yeah, I do remember that person being here, or I do remember getting that present for Christmas, but when I actually think about it, it's only a very vague memory. So this is a memory box that I made when I came out of hospital. So it's got various things in it. When I was in hospital, I really missed all the girls that I worked with, so they brought me this with a picture of each of them on it. So I stuck it to my wall in hospital. And then I've got this, it's a jelly baby, and this is because there was a man that was on the ward just outside my room, and he was probably about 50, and he had loads of small children, and he always used to come into my room and give me jelly babies, and unfortunately he died of cancer, so I thought I'd keep one, like, to remember him by.
I think people think, oh, Lucy's had NMDA, encephalitis. It's gone, it's over. But it isn't. People don't realise that it's over. People don't realise the damage it's caused.
Part of having a brain injury makes you really impulsive because you sort of work quicker than your brain does. So you'll go and act on something and you won't really think about it till you've done it. If the medications aren't just right, The messages in my brain can be as confused as ever. I'd got out of the bath and I was just all wet, and my mum said, "What have you done?" And I said to her, "I tried to drown myself in the bath." So the next day she took me to the doctors and told them, and I said to them, "I will do it again because like it's just horrible what's going on in my head, and I just want to make it stop." In January, things in my brain were so bad and so confused that I took an overdose.
You weren't yourself, your meds were imbalanced. It wasn't the Lucy that we'd come to know again.
Yeah. I always say as well, when that I did it, but it wasn't me that actually did it. Like in my head, what was going on, I don't know how to explain it. Like it wasn't really me that did it because my head was in such a bad place that it wasn't me thinking, it was what was going around in my head. I was in a coma there for about a week and I was on life support machines. So that was like really hard for my family to see. And I know that like my mum felt really guilty, but it wasn't her fault. You know, she tried to get help and just the help just wasn't there quick enough. Now my medication's balanced, I don't have the hallucinations and things, so I am a lot more stable. Having a brain injury affects so many different parts of your brain, and even though it falls under a clinical problem, it causes all sorts of side effects, including mental health problems. It's a hard road and it won't always seem like it, but things can get better.
A year ago, we probably thought you would be at home for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And we didn't see you moving on, really. But to see you happy, to see you content and settled in your little apartment is really lovely, actually. And you're doing amazing, it's lovely.
So yeah, a couple of months ago I moved to this little seaside town to sort of regain my independence and learn to do things again. And it's actually like really settled me.
What is it about you and your character that you think has got you through this?
Obviously I did want to beat this disease, but I don't even think it's that's given me such a positive outlook. I wanted to make it and raise awareness and make sure that other people stay alive from the disease. And people might think, oh yeah, I remember that girl, maybe these are like similar symptoms.
Even your neurologist says, doesn't she, that you know more about this disease than they do, because you've been living it.
The nature of many brain diseases comes from the story that patients tell us and their families. So it's very important for people to realise that their story is valuable.
Encephalitis researcher Mike Zamdi wanted to meet me to hear my story.
One of the big priorities is raising awareness. That's something you've been doing, because it's one of those diseases, if you don't think about it, you don't make the diagnosis. So we think it's probably been under-diagnosed and under-recognised until even 20 years ago, many people would think this doesn't happen to the brain. The brain is completely protected from this kind of problem. And there's a whole group of psychiatrists now who are really studying inflammation in the brain in people with Alzheimer's and schizophrenia. It's showing that the immune system can be really important in all of these diseases, actually. So in fact, relatively rare diseases like NMDA receptor encephalitis, I think they provide a window into maybe helping us understand really common diseases. It's through sharing stories like this and the details of the kind of symptoms and raising the awareness. That's the only way that we're going to be able to make advances, really, in developing treatments for them. So thank you again.
It's been a very traumatic experience. There's a lot of healing to be done, but she's coming on leaps and bounds and she's just doing so well. And maybe it's not until you look back to the very early days that you realise quite what an amazing difference there have been, and nothing's impossible.
Are you crying?
looking back, you just, I don't know, you just get on every day and deal with whatever's coming every day. Just, it's been just a hell of a year and a half, hasn't it? You were so very, very poorly. And heaven forbid that there be a relapse to come, but if it should happen, we'll just go and do it all again, won't we?
Yeah.
And we'll just get through it. That's what we do. We just start at the beginning.
Just do it
and
all
we'll just
over
do
again.
it all again. And I suppose the upside of that is that at least we'll know how to do it if it happens again, which we didn't the first time round, did we?
No.
And that's what we'll do.
We have a goal to raise £50,000 for research and awareness raising. I know that when you watch this, we'll be closer to our target. When we get to 18 months, the original treatment will start to wear off. You don't know what's around the corner, and if I did relapse and it's been 18 months, at least I'll have done a lot of things that I wanted to get done.
Again, this is why people think you're just so brave and strong and incredible and inspirational.
At the age of 18, it was the last thing that I thought was going to happen. But I just think that being positive is the best thing you can do. It is a horrible disease for your family and everybody watching it, and I do think it's a lot harder for them. They've sort of said that I'm never going to be exactly how I was before, but my family have said in the last few months I'm like gradually getting back to like the nearest sort of version of me that I was before.
Before this happened, I knew that I had a very headstrong and determined daughter on my hands, but I just never quite realised what a strong young woman. And yeah, I couldn't be more proud. I don't think you ever realised before all of this and in these recent months just how loved you are and how special you are to us all.
I have got a really good family. Can you smile, please? That's better. I'm just looking forward to enjoying the summer with everyone and just doing nice things to make up for last year.
You found a way around every problem, adapted to it, photographing and recording.
Because now I have that to look back on for things that I don't remember.
Do you see it? Got it.
You got him very, very well done.
Dear past Lucy, I want to tell you that we make it here.
Take 5. Dear future Lucy.
Dear future Lucy.
You've been so brave, you've been so strong. If you're just struggling, I just want you to remember that you can do it. You know that you're strong, you've got it in you, you're determined.
I've got all the time in the world, and we'd work the way that we've worked this last year, side by side, till we got you back.
I think you're an inspiration to a lot more people than you realise.
Dear future Lucy, I sort of hope that you never really need to watch this film, but whatever comes next, we will get through it together.